part of our understanding and our progression in terms of clinical medicine is coming to an understanding of this natural defense and regenerative process that we call neuroinflammation. Looking beyond symptoms, we move to the level of anatomy, which takes us to the level of cells. For many years, the focus on pain focused on the neural substrate. But neuroscientists view the nervous system as a much more complex cellular environment. They view it as a neuromatrix that is composed not only of neurons, but of glial cells, which in the human nervous system outnumber neurons by a factor of 10 to 1. We now know that many types of glial cells, particularly microglia and astroglia, are playing key roles in the genesis of neuroinflammation, and it's sending cellular signals to neurons which change the neuronal behavior. And so this new understanding, which is less than 20 years old, in fact, much of the information that we are now talking about at this workshop has probably been generated within the last 12 years. And the pace of this understanding is increasing. We are faced now with a great opportunity, similar to the transition from the Renaissance into the Age of Enlightenment. As we have explored new conceptual frameworks for the human condition, we are now moving into the applications of technologies, similar to the advent of the Industrial Revolution and the appearance of modern medicine. And to grasp this new future is what we're doing here today. We have among us very accomplished experts in biotechnology, neuroimaging methods. We also have experts who are experts in neuropathic pain and complex regional pain syndrome. We also have experts that play key roles in terms of medical education and outreach. And all of the knowledge that is being generated by the basic science communities, whether it's in academia, government labs, or industry, needs to be synthesized and projected into a variety of stakeholder groups. And that's why we're here, to form a translational workshop that is cross-cutting and forward-looking. So before I go on with some introductory remarks, I would also like to introduce some other members of the organizing committee for this workshop. Jim Broach is the executive director of RSDSA. Welcome. He has played a key role in the fundraising and the organization for the meeting. And Deborah Nelson Hogan is our conference manager, also with RSDSA and also the American Academy of Pain Management. So we owe a great deal of gratitude to these two individuals in particular for providing the logistics for this workshop. We have an extraordinary site venue for this conference. This is outside the windows of the Tamaya Resort. We're looking at the majestic Sandia Mountains and a river that has played a key role in the history of the Southwest, a river which was known as the El Rio Grande del Norte, the Great River of the North. And civilizations have flourished because of this confluence of topography and this constant source of water. And I'd like to, as a lead to this conference, because of this venue, take you back in history and put together some connections of where we are currently and how it connects to the past. Over 1,000 years ago, an advanced civilization developed in this part of the country, and these were the Puebloan people who developed sophisticated architecture that was the first in this part of the country examples of passive solar heating. Irrigated agriculture, another amazing technological advance that allowed high-density civilization to emerge. About 40 miles north of here, in a canyon called Frijoles Canyon, Bean Canyon, a group of Puebloan people formed a sustainable society that lasted for many hundreds of years. And etched on the canyon walls is this symbol, the sun symbol. So we know that this sun symbol has been here, part of the cultures, for over 1,000 years. It is a sacred symbol to the Zuni people, one of the pueblos here in northern New Mexico. And the symbol includes the number 4 in repeating fashion. There are 4 parts of the compass. There are 4 parts of the year, the seasons. there are 4 parts of the human life cycle, and there are 4 obligations of the people to themselves and to others. This symbol has been incorporated into the flag of New Mexico, and it is a symbol of connectiveness that links us to this past, cultural past of this ancient people. Their cultural center embodies an architecture that we still see used today, even here at the Tamaya Resort. It is a type of architecture that artists and architects have appreciated and have now encouraged its sustained expression in northern New Mexico. But going back 1,000 years, this culture was centered in a region called Chaco Canyon, which is about 100 miles to the west of here. And this is an artist's conception of what the center looked like. This is Pueblo Bonito, which housed over probably 1,000 people. And these rooms contained great stores of corn. So not only was it a carbohydrate reservoir, but it was also a seed reservoir, much like the Norwegian seed bank in Svalbard, Norway. This, not only an administrative center and a place where resources were stored, it was also a cultural center. And you see that in the circular structures known as kivas. It was one of these sites that cultural events took place. And if we look more carefully at this civilization, we also would realize that this was probably also a medical treatment center, and that penetrating wounds, fractures, and infections would have had to be dealt with knowledgeable people. And so some person or group of people within this advanced civilization would have been responsible for retaining and teaching medical education to sustain this civilization. So in the 11th century, all roads led to Chaco Canyon. It wasn't an isolated settlement. It was the center of a nation state that extended over hundreds of miles. And so the hub and spoke mechanism by which they survived in an unpredictable and precarious environment, they developed technologies, agriculture, roads, also probably medicine. And so the challenges that they faced in terms of treating people in far-flung settlements, it's very likely that they not only used the roads to transport building materials and corn, but also sick people to the the Pueblo Bonito. Let's fast forward 1,000 years. Now all roads lead to Albuquerque. And the cultural center here is the University of New Mexico. And in terms of medicine, this is where a key center for medical knowledge and treatment and outreach takes place. And we are very fortunate today to have a number of faculty from University of New Mexico, as well as some administrators from UNM Medical School, here to talk about it, the challenges of medical education and outreach and service in a state that is not dissimilar to what the Chacoan people had established 1,000 years ago, an urban center connected to a largely rural environment. So UNM serves a diverse population, many cultures, many ethnic groups with different genetic backgrounds. It also is a unique center in terms of technology. It was one of the key places where nuclear medicine was born. The reason for that is that UNM is in close proximity to the Los Alamos National Laboratories, which were run by the University of California at Berkeley. You may be aware that Ernest Lawrence, who developed the cyclotron, began utilizing some of the radioisotopes that were produced in the cyclotron for medical purposes. And he did this in partnership with his brother, who was a doctor. In fact, the Lawrence Berkeley lab was established first as a medical physics laboratory to take advantage of these nuclear isotopes. So this technology migrated from California to New Mexico to the Los Alamos labs. Later, the establishment of the Sandia labs, also the Loveless Clinic, has made Albuquerque a very unique place where nuclear medicine, imaging technologies have been blended into clinical medicine, and it continues today. So as we talk about molecular imaging, we are looking at a tradition that has been passed on, was developed here in New Mexico, and we are fortunate to have participants like Richard Bonatti from the University of Sydney, a pioneer in molecular imaging and its application to the understanding of neuropathic pain. And we will also hear today from administrators at the University of New Mexico Medical School about their connections to the national level. And part of this takes place within a structure called the Clinical and Translational Science Award System, where about 60 medical schools across the country are given substantial resources to help facilitate the translation of medical research into medical practice.